A massive Philistine temple. 3,000 people packed onto the roof alone. Laughter echoes off the stone pillars. Wine flows freely. And in the center of this celebration stands a blind man. His eyes are gone, burned out with hot irons. His head is shaved. His muscles, once legendary, now weakened from months of grinding grain like an animal. Bronze chains bind his wrists. He is the entertainment. "Bring out Samson," they had shouted. "Let him perform for us." And so here he stands, the mighty champion of Israel, reduced to a circus act for his enemies. They mock him, they spit at him, they make him dance and stumble for their amusement. But something is different today. Samson reaches up and touches his head. His fingers trace across his scalp and find something the Philistines have failed to notice. His hair is growing back, and with it, perhaps, his strength. "Young man," whispers Samson to the servant boy leading him, "put me where I can feel the pillars that support the temple. I want to lean against them." The boy, not understanding what he's doing, guides the blind prisoner to the two central pillars, the ones holding up the entire structure. Samson places one hand on each pillar, and he begins to pray. "Sovereign Lord, remember me. Please, God, strengthen me just once more. Let me with one blow get revenge on the Philistines for my 2 eyes." What happens next will kill more of Israel's enemies than Samson killed in his entire lifetime combined. But how did he get here? How did the strongest man who ever lived end up blind, broken, and in chains? This is the story of Samson, a man chosen by God before he was born, given supernatural strength that defied explanation, yet brought low by his own desires and the whispered lies of a woman named Delilah. It's a story of miracles and mistakes, of divine purpose and human weakness, of a man who could tear a lion apart with his bare hands but couldn't control his own heart. And ultimately, it's a story of redemption, because even in his darkest moment, God hadn't forgotten his servant. Let's go back to the beginning. For 40 years, the Philistines had oppressed Israel. They controlled the trade routes. They taxed the people into poverty. They worshipped their fish god Dagon and mocked the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And Israel? Israel had done what they always did when things got bad. They forgot God. They intermarried with pagans. They bowed to foreign idols. They abandoned the covenant that had made them a nation. But God had not abandoned them. In the town of Zorah, in the territory of Dan, there lived a man named Manoah and his wife. Scripture doesn't give us her name, but it gives us her pain. She was barren. In that culture, a woman without children was seen as cursed, incomplete, a failure. Year after year, she prayed. Year after year, her womb remained closed. Year after year, she watched other women hold babies while her arms stayed empty. Until one day, everything changed. As she was alone in the field when he appeared, his appearance was terrifying, otherworldly, majestic beyond description. "You are barren and childless," the angel said, "but you are going to become pregnant and give birth to a son." Can you imagine her shock, her disbelief, her heart pounding as she tried to process what she was hearing? But the angel wasn't finished. "Now see to it that you drink no wine or other fermented drink, and that you do not eat anything unclean. You will become pregnant and have a son whose head is never to be touched by a razor, because the boy is to be a Nazirite, dedicated to God from the womb. He will take the lead in delivering Israel from the hands of the Philistines." A Nazirite?
This was a special vow described in the book of Numbers. A person under this vow was set apart for God's service. They could not drink wine or any grape product. They could not touch anything dead or unclean. And most importantly, no razor could ever touch their head. Their uncut hair was the visible sign of their consecration to God. But here's what made this child unique. Most people chose to become Nazirites for a limited time. This boy would be a Nazirite from the womb to the grave. Before he drew his first breath, he was already set apart. Before he opened his eyes, his destiny was sealed. The woman ran home and told her husband Manoah everything, and Manoah, to his credit, prayed, "Lord, I beg you, let the man of God you sent to us come again to teach us how to bring up the boy who is to be born." God answered. The angel appeared again, this time to both of them. Manoah, still not realizing who he was talking to, offered to prepare a meal for their visitor. The angel refused. "If you prepare a burnt offering, offer it to the Lord." Then Manoah asked the question that would haunt him, "What is your name, so that we may honor you when your word comes true?"
The angel's answer sent chills down their spines. "Why do you ask my name? It is beyond understanding." Beyond understanding. Too wonderful, too mysterious, too divine for human comprehension. Manoah prepared the burnt offering and laid it on a rock. As the flames rose toward heaven, something incredible happened. The angel of the Lord ascended in the flames. Right before their eyes, he rose up with the fire and disappeared into the sky. Manoah and his wife fell face first to the ground. "We are doomed to die," Manoah cried out. "We have seen God." But his wife, wise, faithful woman, calmed him. "If the Lord had meant to kill us, he would not have accepted our offering, or shown us all these things, or told us this." She was right. Months later, she gave birth to a son. They named him Samson, which means like the sun, or sunshine. Perhaps they hoped he would be a light to Israel in their darkness. The child grew, and the Lord blessed him. The Spirit of the Lord began to stir him while he was still living in the camp of Dan. Israel's deliverer had arrived. But this deliverer would not be like Moses or Joshua. He wouldn't lead armies or write down laws. His story would be messier, more complicated, more human. Because Samson's greatest enemy wouldn't be the Philistines, it would be himself. Samson had grown into a man, and what a man he was. Though Scripture doesn't describe his appearance in detail, we can imagine him, tall, broad-shouldered, with long braided hair that had never been cut, flowing down his back. The mark of his Nazirite vow visible for all to see. But behind those eyes burned something troubling, a passion that wouldn't be controlled, a desire that wouldn't be tamed. One day, Samson traveled down to Timnah, a Philistine town, and there, among the enemies of his people, he saw a woman, a Philistine woman. He didn't pray about it. He didn't seek counsel. He didn't consider whether this aligned with God's law that forbade Israelites from marrying Canaanites. He simply went home and made a demand. "I have seen a Philistine woman in Timnah. Now get her for me as my wife." Notice his words. Not, "I've met a woman," or "I'd like to marry," but "I have seen," and "get her for me." Samson led with his eyes and his impulses. This pattern would follow him to his grave. His parents were horrified. "Isn't there an acceptable woman among your relatives or among all our people?" Must you go to the uncircumcised Philistines to get a wife? But Samson wouldn't be moved. Get her for me. She's the right one for me. Now here's where the story takes a fascinating turn. Scripture tells us something remarkable. His parents did not know that this was from the Lord, who was seeking an occasion to confront the Philistines. God was working even through Samson's disobedience, even through his lustful choices, even through his rebellion against his parents and the law. God was orchestrating events to begin the liberation of Israel. This doesn't excuse Samson's sin. It reveals God's sovereignty, his ability to work all things, even human failures, into his divine plan. So Samson and his parents traveled toward Timnah. When they reached the vineyards outside the town, Samson wandered away from his parents. And that's when the lion attacked. A young lion, powerful, ferocious, hungry, came roaring toward him. In that split second, something happened to Samson that he had never experienced before. The Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him. Samson had no weapon, no knife, no spear, nothing but his bare hands. It didn't matter. He tore the lion apart with his bare hands, as he might have torn a young goat. The text says it so casually, as if ripping apart a lion is something people just do. The supernatural strength that flowed through him was beyond anything natural. But here's the strange detail. He didn't tell his parents what had happened. He kept it secret. Samson went on, met the Philistine woman, and liked what he saw. The marriage was arranged. Sometime later, Samson returned for the wedding. On his way, he turned aside to look at the lion's carcass. And there, in the dried-out body of the beast, he found something unexpected. A swarm of bees had made their hive inside, and honey dripped from the lion's ribcage. Samson scooped out the honey with his hands and ate it as he walked. He even gave some to his parents without telling them where it came from. Now, remember, Samson was a Nazirite. He was forbidden to touch anything dead. By reaching into that carcass, he was breaking his vow. The honey might have been sweet, but it came at the cost of his consecration. This is the pattern of Samson's life: temporary pleasure purchased with spiritual compromise. He would taste the sweetness again and again, never counting the cost until it was too late. The wedding feast began. In Philistine custom, these celebrations lasted 7 days and involved heavy drinking and entertainment. 30 Philistine companions were assigned to Samson, officially as friends, but likely to keep an eye on this dangerous Israelite. Samson decided to entertain them with a riddle. Let me tell you a riddle. If you can give me the answer within the 7 days of the feast, I will give you 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes. If you can't tell me the answer, you must give me 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes. They agreed. The stakes were high. These were expensive items worth a small fortune. Samson smiled and delivered his riddle. Out of the eater, something to eat. Out of the strong, something sweet. The riddle was based on his secret, the lion and the honey. Without knowing about that encounter, the riddle was unsolvable. For 3 days, the Philistines puzzled over it. They got nowhere. By the 4th day, they were desperate and angry. They approached Samson's new bride with a threat that would change everything. Coax your husband into explaining the riddle for us, or we will burn you and your father's household to death. Did you invite us here to steal our property? The woman was terrified, and so she did what they asked. She went to Samson weeping. "You hate me. You don't really love me. You've given my people a riddle, but you haven't told me the answer."
"I haven't even explained it to my father or mother," Samson replied, "so why should I explain it to you?" But she didn't stop. Day after day she wept. Day after day she nagged. Day after day she pressed him. By the seventh day, Samson couldn't take it anymore. He told her, and she immediately told the Philistines. Before sunset on the seventh day, the men of the town came to Samson with knowing smiles. "What is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion?" Samson knew instantly that he had been betrayed. His response dripped with bitterness. "If you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle." Then the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him again. Samson went down to Ashkelon, a major Philistine city, and killed 30 men. He stripped them of their belongings and gave their clothes to those who had solved the riddle. 30 men dead because of a riddle at a wedding. Burning with anger, Samson returned to his father's house. He didn't even consummate the marriage. And his wife, she was given to his best man. The confrontation with the Philistines had begun.
Sometime later, during the wheat harvest, Samson's anger had cooled. He took a young goat as a gift and went to visit his wife. "I'm going to my wife's room," he told her father. But the father blocked the doorway. "I was so sure you hated her that I gave her to your companion. Isn't her younger sister more attractive? Take her instead." Samson had been betrayed again. His wife given away like property. His marriage dissolved without his knowledge or consent. Something snapped inside him. "This time I have a right to get even with the Philistines," Samson said. "I will really harm them." What he did next was bizarre, destructive, and brilliant. He caught 300 foxes. 300! Think about that for a moment. The patience, the skill, the determination required to capture that many wild animals. Then he tied them tail to tail in pairs, fastened a torch to every pair of tails, and lit the torches. 150 pairs of foxes, panicked and burning, ran through the standing grain of the Philistines. The destruction was total. The standing grain burned, the harvested grain burned, the vineyards burned, the olive groves burned. The entire agricultural economy of the region went up in flames. "Who did this?" the Philistines demanded. "Samson," came the answer, "because his wife was given to his companion." The Philistines responded with horrific violence. They went to Timnah and burned Samson's wife and her father to death, the very thing they had threatened to do if she didn't betray her husband. When Samson heard what they had done, his rage erupted. "Since you've acted like this," he declared, "I swear I won't stop until I get my revenge on you." He attacked them viciously, slaughtering many of them. Then he went down and stayed in a cave in the rock of Etam. The Philistines weren't about to let this stand. They assembled an army and invaded Judah, spreading out near a place called Lehi. "Why have you come to fight us?" the men of Judah asked. "We have come to take Samson prisoner, to do to him as he did to us." Now watch what happens next. It reveals the tragic state of Israel at this time. 3,000 men of Judah went down to the cave where Samson was hiding. 3,000 Israelites. They came not to support their champion, not to join his fight against their oppressors, but to hand him over. "Don't you realize that the Philistines are rulers over us?" they said. "What have you done to us?" Samson's own people had accepted their slavery. They had become comfortable under the Philistine boot. This one man's rebellion was making their lives difficult. "I merely did to them what they did to me," Samson replied. "We've come to tie you up and hand you over to the Philistines." Samson made them swear one thing, that they wouldn't kill him themselves. They agreed, bound him with 2 new ropes, and led him toward the Philistine camp. As Samson approached Lehi, the Philistines came toward him shouting in triumph. Their enemy was bound, their problem was solved, victory was theirs. Then the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him. The ropes on his arms became like charred flax. The bindings dropped from his wrists as if they were threads. Samson looked around and found a fresh jawbone of a donkey. In anyone else's hands, it would have been trash. In Samson's hands, filled with the Spirit of God, it became a weapon of mass destruction. He killed 1,000 men. 1,000 Philistine warriors fell before a single Israelite wielding a donkey's jawbone. Wave after wave of soldiers attacked, and wave after wave was destroyed. When it was over, Samson stood among the bodies and sang, "With a donkey's jawbone I have made donkeys of them. With a donkey's jawbone I have killed 1,000 men." He named that place Ramath-Lehi, which means Jawbone Hill. But even in victory, Samson was human. The battle had left him desperately thirsty. He cried out to God, one of the few recorded prayers in his entire story. "You have given your servant this great victory. Must I now die of thirst and fall into the hands of the uncircumcised?" God opened up a hollow place in Lehi, and water came out. Samson drank and was revived. The scriptures tell us that Samson led Israel for 20 years during the time of the Philistines. For 2 decades, he was their judge, their champion, their one-man army. But the story wasn't over. Samson's weakness hadn't gone away. His eyes still wandered. His heart still lusted, and there was a woman waiting for him in the valley of Sorek, a woman named Delilah. Before we meet Delilah, we need to see what happened in Gaza. One day, Samson went to Gaza, the major Philistine city on the Mediterranean coast, and there he saw a prostitute. Scripture doesn't soften this. It doesn't make excuses. Israel's judge, God's chosen champion, the Nazarite, dedicated from the womb, went in to spend the night with a pagan prostitute. The people of Gaza heard that Samson had come. They surrounded the place, set an ambush at the city gate, and waited all night. At dawn, they said, "We'll kill him." But Samson didn't stay until dawn. In the middle of the night, he got up and went to the city gate. Now, ancient city gates were massive structures, thick wooden doors reinforced with metal, set in heavy stone posts, barred from inside. They were designed to withstand siege armies. Samson took hold of the doors of the city gate, together with the 2 posts, and tore them loose, bar and all. Then he put them on his shoulders and carried them to the top of a hill facing Hebron, a journey of nearly 40 miles, uphill, carrying hundreds of pounds of wood and metal. It was an incredible display of strength. It was also a warning Samson didn't heed. He had walked into enemy territory. He had indulged his lust. He had been surrounded by enemies who wanted him dead, and he had escaped, barely. Sometime later, he fell in love with a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. That single verse contains the beginning of Samson's end. Notice what it says. He fell in love. With his Timnite wife, he had seen a woman and demanded her. With the prostitute in Gaza, it was pure lust. But with Delilah, Samson's heart was involved. That made her the most dangerous of all. The Valley of Sorek sat on the border between Israelite and Philistine territory. Delilah's name might be Semitic, suggesting she could have been Israelite, or it might be derived from a word meaning knight or devotee, possibly connected to pagan worship. What we know for certain is that she was willing to sell the man who loved her for silver. The rulers of the Philistines came to her with an offer that would make her wealthy beyond imagination. See if you can lure him into showing you the secret of his great strength and how we can overpower him so we may tie him up and subdue him. Each one of us will give you 1,100 shekels of silver. 1,100 shekels from each of the 5 Philistine lords, 5,500 shekels total. To put that in perspective, a skilled worker might earn about 1 shekel per month. Delilah was being offered centuries' worth of wages. She took the deal. The next time Samson visited, Delilah began her work. Tell me the secret of your great strength and how you can be tied up and subdued. Now pause here and consider. How obvious was this question? How blatant was her agenda? She wasn't asking out of curiosity. She was explicitly asking how he could be captured and subdued. Any reasonable person would have been suspicious. Any reasonable person would have asked why she wanted to know. But Samson was not reasonable when it came to women he desired. He played along, giving her a false answer. If anyone ties me with 7 fresh bowstrings that have not been dried, I'll become as weak as any other man. Delilah reported to the Philistine rulers. They brought her 7 fresh bowstrings, and she tied him up, while men hid in her room, ready to capture him. "Samson, the Philistines are upon you!" she cried. He snapped the bowstrings as easily as a piece of string snaps when it touches fire. The Philistines fled. The secret of his strength was not discovered, and Samson stayed. Think about this. Armed men had been hiding in her room. She had obviously told someone he was coming. She had tried to have him captured, and he stayed with her. Delilah pouted. "You have made a fool of me. You lied to me. Come now, tell me how you can be tied." Again, she explicitly asked how he could be tied. Again, she made no secret of her agenda. Again, Samson played the game. "If anyone ties me securely with new ropes that have never been used, I'll become as weak as any other man." Same pattern. New ropes. Men hiding. "The Philistines are upon you." He snapped the ropes off his arms like threads, and Samson stayed. Delilah tried again. "All this time you have been making a fool of me and lying to me. Tell me how you can be tied." This time Samson got closer to the truth. "If you weave the 7 braids of my head into the fabric on the loom and tighten it with the pin, I'll become as weak as any other man." He was telling her about his hair now. He was inching toward the secret. Part of him seemed to want to tell her. While he slept, Delilah wove his hair into the loom and called out again. Samson awoke, pulled up the pin and the loom with his braids still woven in.
And still, Samson stayed. Then came the final assault. Delilah played her trump card, not strength, but emotion. "How can you say I love you when you won't confide in me? This is the 3rd time you have made a fool of me and haven't told me the secret of your great strength." Day after day she pressed him. Day after day she nagged him. Day after day she prodded him. The scripture says she prodded him day after day until he was sick to death of it. The same thing had happened with his Timnite wife. The same tears, the same accusations, the same relentless pressure. And just like before, Samson broke. So he told her everything. "No razor has ever been used on my head," he said, "because I have been a Nazirite dedicated to God from my mother's womb. If my head were shaved, my strength would leave me, and I would become as weak as any other man. The secret was out. 20 years of superhuman strength, 20 years of Philistine defeats, 20 years of being Israel's champion, and it all came down to this moment in a woman's bedroom when Samson traded his calling for her approval. Delilah sensed the truth in his words. She sent word to the Philistine rulers, "Come back once more, he has told me everything." They came with the silver.
That night, Delilah lulled Samson to sleep on her lap, the lap of his betrayer. Perhaps she stroked his long hair as his eyes closed. Perhaps she whispered sweet words as he drifted off. Then she called a man to shave off the 7 braids of his hair. The razor touched his head for the first time in his life. Braid by braid, lock by lock, his Nazirite vow was cut away, and his strength left him. Delilah began to subdue him. "Samson, the Philistines are upon you." He awoke from his sleep and thought, "I'll go out as before and shake myself free." Then comes the most haunting verse in the entire story. But he did not know that the Lord had left him. He didn't know. He had grown so accustomed to compromise that he didn't notice when God's presence departed. He had played with fire so many times that he assumed he always would escape. Not this time. The Philistines seized him. They gouged out his eyes. They brought him down to Gaza, the very city where he had carried off the gates, and bound him with bronze shackles. He was set to grinding grain in the prison. The strongest man who ever lived, the one who killed 1,000 warriors with a jawbone, the champion of Israel, now pushed a grinding wheel in circles, day after day, in darkness, doing the work of an animal. But then, Scripture gives us a detail that would change everything. But the hair on his head began to grow again after it had been shaved. The Philistine rulers gathered for a great celebration. They were offering a massive sacrifice to Dagon, their god, a deity depicted with a human upper body and a fish's tail. "Our God has delivered Samson, our enemy, into our hands," they proclaimed. The people joined the celebration. "Our God has delivered our enemy into our hands, the one who laid waste our land and multiplied our slain." In their minds, this was the triumph of Dagon over Israel's God. They believed their deity had proven stronger than the Lord. When their spirits were high, someone had an idea. "Bring out Samson to entertain us." Guards descended into the prison. They unchained the blind man from his grinding wheel. They led him up into the sunlight he could no longer see. The temple of Dagon was packed. 3,000 men and women crowded onto the roof alone. All 5 Philistine rulers were present. The elite of Philistia had gathered to mock the fallen champion of Israel. They positioned Samson among the pillars, the central pillars that supported the entire structure. They made him perform. They laughed at his stumbling. They cheered at his humiliation. Samson, who had torn lions apart, now bumbled around blind for their entertainment. Samson, who had killed 1,000 warriors, now fumbled helplessly at their commands. But Samson wasn't just enduring his humiliation, he was planning. He said to the servant boy holding his hand, "Put me where I can feel the pillars that support the temple, so that I may lean against them." The boy did as he was asked, not understanding that he was positioning the weapon that would destroy them all. Samson placed his right hand on one pillar and his left hand on the other. And then, in the darkness of his blindness, he prayed, "Sovereign Lord, remember me. Remember me." After all his failures, after all his compromises,
after all his lust and violence and broken vows, after everything, Samson still believed God might hear him. Please, God, strengthen me just once more. Just once more. One final act, one last surge of the supernatural power that had defined his life. Let me with one blow get revenge on the Philistines for my 2 eyes. Was this prayer holy or selfish? Was it righteous judgment or personal vengeance? Perhaps it was both. Samson was complicated to the very end. But God heard him. Samson braced himself against the pillars. Let me die with the Philistines. He pushed, with all his might, with strength that could only come from God. The pillars moved. A massive collapse, screams, destruction. The temple came crashing down. Tons of stone, massive wooden beams, the entire structure collapsed inward, crushing everyone inside and everyone on the roof above. The rulers of the Philistines, the priests of Dagon, the elite warriors, the mocking crowds, 3,000 people on the roof alone, all dead. And beneath the rubble, with his hands still on those pillars, lay Samson. Thus he killed many more when he died than while he lived. His brothers and his father's whole family came down to retrieve his body. They brought him up and buried him between Zorah and Eshtaol in the tomb of Manoah, his father. He had led Israel for 20 years, and now he was home.
What are we supposed to make of Samson? He's one of the most puzzling figures in all of Scripture. A man chosen by God who constantly chose poorly. A deliverer who couldn't deliver himself from his own desires. A Nazirite who broke every aspect of his vow. He ate from a dead carcass. He attended a 7-day drinking feast. He revealed the secret of his uncaught hair. And yet, the book of Hebrews, chapter 11, lists him among the heroes of faith. And what more shall I say? I do not have time to tell about Gideon, Barak, Samson, Jephthah, David, Samuel, and the prophets, who through faith conquered kingdoms, administered justice, and gained what was promised. Samson is listed with David and Samuel, with Gideon and the prophets. He's in the hall of faith. How can this be? Perhaps because Samson's story isn't ultimately about Samson. It's about God. It's about a God who chooses flawed people for great purposes, a God who works through human weakness, a God who doesn't give up on his servants even when they give up on themselves. Samson failed again and again, but in his final moment, blind and broken and chained, he turned back to God, and God answered. That's grace. Samson's story also serves as a warning. It shows us what happens when we play with temptation, when we flirt with sin, when we assume we can handle what has destroyed others. Samson had supernatural strength, but he had natural weaknesses. His eyes led him into danger. His passions led him into compromise. His pride led him to think he was invincible. He was wrong. No one is invincible. No one is immune to temptation. No amount of past victories guarantees future faithfulness. There's another lesson here, too, about the nature of Samson's calling. The angel had said the boy would begin to deliver Israel from the Philistines. Begin, not complete. Samson was never meant to fully defeat the Philistines. That would take David and the armies of Israel. Samson was the beginning. He was the first blow in a longer battle. He weakened the enemy and showed Israel that the Philistines could be defeated. In this way, Samson points forward to an even greater deliverer. Like Samson, Jesus was announced by an angel before birth. Like Samson, Jesus was set apart from the womb for a special purpose. Like Samson, Jesus was betrayed by those close to him. Like Samson, Jesus was mocked and humiliated by his enemies.
And like Samson, Jesus accomplished his greatest victory through his death. But where Samson killed his enemies, Jesus died to save his. Where Samson's death was partial revenge, Jesus' death was complete redemption. Where Samson began to deliver Israel, Jesus fully delivers all who trust in him. Samson's story ends in a ruined temple with a dead hero. Jesus' story ends with an empty tomb and a risen king. Samson is remembered as a man of great strength who couldn't control himself. Jesus is worshipped as the Son of God, who was tempted in every way just as we are, yet he did not sin. Samson shows us what human strength looks like, impressive but flawed. Jesus shows us what divine strength looks like, surrendered, sacrificial, saving. The same God who answered Samson's desperate prayer in the temple of Dagon still answers desperate prayers today. Maybe you're watching this and you feel like Samson in that prison, blind to hope, grinding away at a meaningless existence, paying the price for choices you can't undo. Here's the good news: it's not too late. The same God who heard Samson can hear you. The same God who restored Samson's strength can restore your life. Your past doesn't have to be your prison. Your failures don't have to be your future. Because our God is a God of second chances, of fresh starts, of redemption. Samson's hair grew back, and whatever you've lost, whatever you've destroyed, whatever you've thrown away, God can grow something new. That's the story of Samson, the strongest man who ever lived, the weakest hero you'll ever meet, and a testimony to the power of a God who never gives up on his people.
If this story moved you, challenged you, or spoke to something in your heart, we'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Holy Reels, and hit that notification bell so you never miss another powerful story from Scripture. Until next time, remember, no matter how far you've fallen, you're never beyond the reach of God's grace. God bless you.